Hello, fish keepers and other people out there who want to learn more about the aquarium hobby. Welcome to Aquarium Thoughts, and I'm Dave. In this video, I'm going to be talking about where us fish keepers are failing in the aquarium hobby. Keep in mind, this is part 2 on a 3-part series I'm doing. The first part was where fish stores are failing in the aquarium hobby. This one is talking about us fish keepers out there and how we are failing. Basically, how we are setting ourselves up for failure, getting into a point where we might be starting to get discouraged and just quit, or maybe even worse, they cause harm in the hobby itself. Keep in mind, this list is just a list. It's by no means top 5. It's not ranked. I'm just basically letting you know where I feel that we are failing the hobby. First things first, I want to talk about being impatient. This problem happens a lot when we're beginning. When we're beginners, we want to take setup, we want to go to the store, buy the fish, buy the equipment, and go home and just have an already set up tank, which often leads to problems because we are not doing it properly, because we're not cycling the tank, we're not actually taking the time to actually get things ready. Another part of it being impatient is we want that fish. We want the fish we like, and sometimes we can't get it because it's not available, and then we end up settling for something else just so we can have a fish in the tank that we might like, but you know what, we really don't like the one that we could get as much, but we get it anyways. That is just being impatient, and we just lack the patience to actually just wait and actually get the fish we really want. The problem that happens there is we end up with tanks of fish that we don't want. I've done this. I'm sure a lot of you out there have probably done it as well. I know a lot of it with it. I was looking for pistogrammas. I was looking for cockatoides, but for the longest time I was not able to find them. I ended up like, oh, let's go with this one. It's a pistogramma. It's not the colorful I really want, but you know what? Let's just get it. And what happens there is you end up with something that you have to eventually rehome, you have to catch, and sometimes that's not a good situation to begin with. But I do recommend rehoming if you want to, rather than just killing it. Which that's the bad thing that happens as well when we're impatient. We just buy fish we don't want. Oftentimes we don't think, okay, let's just rehome it. Instead we're like, okay, we're just gonna get rid of it. That probably happens to a lot of beginners. As we get more advanced in the hobby, sometimes we decide, okay, let's rehome. That's another thing as fish keepers we need to start doing is, you know what, if we want to change things, no, let's rehome these fish, find good homes for them, and go from there. Number 2 on my list here would be the fact that a lot of times, especially when we're beginning as well, is we tend to buy undersized aquariums, undersized equipment. The biggest part of that is actually the stores that actually put together kits. That I should have mentioned on the first part of the series, where they sell these kits, and yeah, you get the aquarium, you get some equipment, you get some heater, you get some decorations. A lot of time the problem with that is they include a lot of subpar equipment. A lot of subpar equipment that shouldn't really even be powering that tank that they're providing. But anyways, undersized tanks, we end up basically overcrowding, putting too much fish in there. The equipment that we get, like especially in those kits, the filter's not big enough to actually filter out. So we need to strive in actually getting the stuff we need. A lot of that part happens to coincide with my next thing on the list, which is not researching. We tend to decide, okay, we want that fish. No, we're not going to look it up and see what tank mates it could have, how to actually take care of it, the water temperature they like, and we end up with a lot of fish that either get too big for the tanks we have, which goes back to number 2, undersized tanks, or they're just messy fish and they need more filtering than what a lot of other fish would need in that particular setup. Another thing that ends up happening, with not researching, is sometimes we actually do research, and our research basically entails, okay, fish store employee, what do you think about this fish? Can I go with the fish I have already? And of course the fish store employee might not be as knowledgeable as he should be, or she should be, and next you know they tell you, yeah, you keep that piranha with that cardinal tetra that you have. And they don't even mention the fact that you shouldn't have just one cardinal tetra in the tank to begin with. So basically we end up with fish that aren't going to live together. They're not going to be able to cohabit. And then you decide, okay, this aquarium hobby is not for me because I can't even keep a single fish alive, and I'm buying fish that don't live together. Well, they might live together, but not very friendly living kind of together. Number 4 on my list also happens to coincide with research. It's the point where you actually go do the research and you find out, okay, dwarf chain loaches require a school of 6, 8, whatnot. And then you go to the fish store to actually grab them, and you look at them and, no, I really don't like that price. I wonder if I could really get less than what I'm reading about. So then again, you ask the fish store employee. Once again, he's like, oh yeah, one should be sufficient. You could probably do with one. It'd be fine. And then, regardless of your research that you've done, you figured out, okay, I'm hearing what I want to hear from him, so I'm going to go ahead and bite, and I'm going to buy this dwarf chain loach. Then only problem is you get home, put it in your tank, and then you find that there's lots of problems with keeping one dwarf chain loach in your tank with cardinal tetras, SPI, rasboras, and stuff like that. And it ends up being a bad situation where then you have to take the fish back and hope they actually take them back, and you're probably going to be losing money on it to begin with, which could have been basically solved by doing the research and sticking with that research rather than thinking, okay, I'm hearing what I want to hear. Now, of course, there's situations where, yes, you could probably get away with it. Sometimes you could actually do stuff that a lot of your research might tell you, okay, it's impossible. No, it's not possible to do this. In fact, some people can. One common thing out there is, oh, don't overstock your tank, you can't do it, it's going to be impossible, which in fact it is possible a lot of times, but the one thing that it does entail is number 5 on my list, which is proper maintenance. That's where a lot of fish keepers fail as well sometimes, beginners a lot, because they don't realize they have to take care of the water quality in the tank itself. They failed to do the gravel vacuuming, they don't water change, and it just ends up with a bad situation for the fish and themselves, just setting themselves up to failure, and with fish dying, being discouraged, and getting out of the hobby. And then they tell their friends that okay, yeah, it's too hard, fish keeping is too hard, don't do it, it's hard. In the long run, this eventually sets us up for failure. Hurts the aquarium hobby because people are going to start thinking, okay, it's too hard, which a lot of it is. But once you learn how to do things, it becomes easier once you become a part of a routine, which is one thing I do recommend with maintenance. Make sure you have a good routine set up and that you're not failing to do it. Especially when you have overstocked tanks, you're going to have to do that routine maintenance more than, say, someone with a low bioload. A person with low bioload might be able to get away with water change every 2 weeks, where a person with a normal load might have to do it every week. You might be having some fish that might require daily water changes. In an ideal world for me, I would be able to have a system where it's an auto water change system. I know some people out there do have it. I know the Aquarium Co-op has it. Lucky Smuck has it set up for that, although I don't think he has it fully automated yet. At least not that he's shown in his videos, but that will be the ideal world where you don't have to worry about it. But it's still part of that maintenance where you have to make sure everything is working right. I mean, yes, it's great to have an automated water change system, but if you're not keeping track of making sure it's actually working, it's not going to do you any good. Please stay tuned, and I have more in a second. Okay, I am back. And to go over a few more things where I feel that us fish keepers are failing the aquarium hobby. These last few things on my list are pretty much things that kind of do fail us in the hobby, mainly because some of it puts us in a bad light, some of it causes problems. The first thing I want to talk about is basically having a fish buying it, putting it in our tank, and figuring out, no, we really don't like that fish anymore. It's getting too big. And of course, a lot of that does go back to a few of my previous points. So we want to get rid of it. We don't think about finding someone to take care of it. So instead of just doing that, we end up finding, oh, there's a pond behind my house, there's a stream. We'll just put it in there and it'll live happily. Except for that, it's not a good thing to do, because a lot of times what happens is they're invasive species, they take over the waterways, and they cause more harm than what we are thinking it would do. Personally, I probably wouldn't even put native fish back in there, mainly because you're risking actually adding stuff to the ecosystem that wasn't there before. You might get like a fish from somewhere having it in your tank, and then the native fish in there gets it, and then you introduce it into the wild, and that little organism attached to your native fish that you're putting in the pond may actually cause damage as well. Although I'm not sure how often that happens, but I believe there's probably going to be a risk there as well. But then again, what do I know? I'm not really an expert on that, but it just kind of makes logical sense. Maybe I'm just kind of off base on that, but please do let me know in the comments if you know, maybe. But in the end, just don't release your fish that you don't want into ponds and streams and stuff like that, natural waterways. Find a home for it. Same thing goes with your plants. Especially be careful with those. A lot of those can be invasive in your waterways and create a lot of havoc. Another thing that I'd like to mention on this is also, when we're buying fish, we want to make sure that it's collected properly. I know a lot of places out there, I know there's a big issue with red arowanas, which are illegal to import to begin with in the US, but a lot of that has to do with overfishing of them. People want to get them and take them. I know a lot of the red arowanas on the market are probably bred privately to begin with, but still you have that issue where it puts us in a bad light because we're the ones keeping those fish and we're pretty much driving towards extinction. It's just one thing we need to keep an eye out and making sure that we're doing fish keeping responsibly. The last thing I'm going to mention is the fact that basically with fish stores out there, we typically go there, look around. Oh yeah, we might buy the fish, but that's pretty much about it. We tend to want to buy some other hard goods elsewhere. I know a lot of times it is cheaper, although I will give you this one tip. It's not always cheaper on Amazon. I found a number of things at fish stores that were actually cheaper. I know it might have been $1 or $2, but if you stay tuned, give me 1 second, I will run and show you one thing that I actually got at a fish store that was actually way cheaper than I could ever find on Amazon. Hold on, I'll be right back in 1 second. Okay, I am back. Anyways, this is Cordon's Concentrated Pond Fish Protector. I found this at a fish store and it was $15. On Amazon, I'm only finding this particular item for $30. Now keep in mind, this is not the regular fish protector, this is the pond fish protector. But like I said, some things you can actually find cheaper in real life on fish stores. So always try to support your local fish store, otherwise we're not going to have them to go to. That's one place that we're going to end up failing the aquarium hobby if we don't have these fish stores to actually go visit. So please try to support your good ones out there. Bad ones, I'll probably let them die, personally. I mean, if they're not going to strive to actually be good and basically not take any heed to the first part, any of the things in my first part where I actually say where fish stores fail, then they probably shouldn't be in business. But definitely support your good ones out there, the ones you love going to. Support them, giving your business, and so forth and so forth. Anyways, that's all I could remember. But if you can think of anything else, please leave them in the comments. If you think I'm wrong on anything, leave that as well. If you think I'm right, you can leave a comment about that as well. But please do put your thoughts in the comments. Let us know. Let me know. If I'm saying something wrong, definitely please let me know, because I'd like to learn, especially with that thing about little organisms living on the native fish. I believe that could be an issue, but then again, I might just be talking out of my whatever. Anyway, so if you like my videos, want to see more, please do hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the dislike button for all I care. That actually helps me as well. And also, if you want to receive notifications, hit the little bell, get notified when I do post a new one. Right after this one, I do have another one I'm going to be posting. But anyways, as always, have a good day, night, or whenever you're watching this. Thank you.